Okay, so I tidied up the artillery that I had. Now in some places I've got a leader in the same hex as the artillery. Yeah, you gotta do stacking that way if you're gonna handle the kind of, one unit's split between two hexes and other units are not, and shit like that. You gotta kind of pile the units up in stupid looking ways. I also noted I didn't have these guys in the right place, or hadn't deployed them properly, is what I should say. Now, we start looking at the scenario. Yeah, it starts at 6 a.m. I'm not doing the prequel battles, which really focused around here, and I had started setting up the whole thing. I'm not quite sure how you cope with that, because this is only a one map section scenario, and then somehow everything else, shows up magically. I didn't want to cope with that. Maybe if I ever play this a second time. But, I'm not going to spend this kind of money on a game and not give it a real attempt, right? Okay, especially since people swear by the system. It's got to be minimally playable. And I'll tell you this much, I'm starting to look at the year 22 regs, and they seem to be a lot clearer. And my guess is I'll probably end up using them to inform basic concepts in the game, because this thing is just a fucking mess. Okay. We get down to weather. Weather's misty in the early hours. Prior to and including 7 a.m. Turn visibility 6 hexes. Okay. No artillery may fire beyond this distance. This distance increases according to the following schedule. Eventually it goes to normal. I don't know what that is. I assume that's maximum range. French are trying to avoid victory by the foes. The foes want to either kill or capture Napoleon. That's their biggest. Capture Frederick Augustus, or capture and have under control at least one of the gates of the Alstadt. So they're a friendly unit that would be able to enter the first interior hex of the old city without having to conduct melee to do so. Or physically hold all the numerated redoubts at the end of the scenario. Now the redoubts, I think, are these guys out here. And there's quite a few of them. That's going to be a heavy task. But breaking into the Alstadt is also a pretty heavy task. I don't expect either of those to be accomplished. And I also don't expect Frederick Augustus, who's inside the Alstadt, to be in too much danger. Napoleon, who knows? Marginal, hold 2 of the 5 numbered redoubts at the end of the scenario. Okay. Special rules. Now here things start getting crazy right away. Superior formations, Austrian and Russian divisions, Prussian brigades, may not be given an MU until they are active, regardless of their command status. Individual units can be activated if an already active leader is there. All French forces start on the game are active. Each superior formation of the foes is given an activation timer turn. So I assume I can't use the standard activation rules to speed that up. It's not true that all formations have one. This stack of leaders does not, but I believe they're active. Because they don't, these units, I believe, do not have one. These guys have a 12, which I guess is when they enter the map. I won't be able to enter them. I don't remember. I may have lost my time for that. Had a window open, but that's easy enough to look up and replace. Okay, good enough. And likewise, these guys, I don't even know if they had one. I may have put a couple of these guys down at the end without writing them a number. Or maybe they're reinforcements. I don't know. Anyway, I thought I wrote numbers for everyone. Then we come to the interesting part of this. Note, all Allied corps and army leaders are active at 6 a.m. as long as they are on the map. I think I understand it. It's all corps and army leaders. Not all Allied corps and army leaders. Gotcha. Yeah, I looked at that, and You know, like so much in this game, I just felt like, oh fuck, what do you mean all the core are active? Yeah. All right, no problem there. So what I can actually do is I can use the corps and army leaders, and I assume the aides de camp and this, that, and the other, to individually move units around. You're not going to get an assault that way. So I'm not too worried about that. Forced activation. I haven't read any of this. All right, let me read through this and I'll be back because I don't want to waste your time with me trying to learn this stuff. So if you move within movement range and line of sight of Allied formation, they end up activating. And something's not taped down as well as it should be. I'm going to have to fix that. I think I put tape down where I thought the map's connected, but doesn't seem to connect to this. Yeah, it does. There's just more play down here than I thought there would be. All right. Okay. Now there's a special rule here. One line battalion from either 1R16 or maybe IR 16 or IR 58. What the fuck's that? Infantry regiment? Right wing of something or another? I don't know. I really don't know. Or Austrian and one Austrian cavalry regiment, all from Mesco's division. Mesco. All right, we're gonna have to look for him. Here he is. There's a 58. Okay, where's 16? 16 doesn't appear to be part of his division. Oh, there it is. It's all on its own. It's one regiment. Or no, just one battalion. Okay. I thought it was a full regiment on its own. So wherever the hell he is, has to exit the map at the northwest corner via the Route von Meissen at Chemnitz by 10 a.m. Northwest. That'll be over here, I hope. Up here. Okay. So who is this? This is gonna be Mesco. I'm gonna have to find him, but because he's one of these red guys. This might be him. No, that's Groth. Okay, this one looks kind of like that. This is Weisenwolf. This is Gudel. He may have someone with him. He's got his aide-de-camp with him. Some of the aide-de-camps are named, some of them are not. This is Lerder. Yeah, this is how we find people. And this is Liechtenstein. Wonder where Mesco... Oh, maybe he's over here. No, that's Civil Tat or something like that. Here's someone. Better not be him. That's Colorado. Okay. Better not be this guy, but he's red. And this guy? Maybe he's here. Oh, these guys may be under... Yeah, so here he is. So some of his force is going to have to exit there, and I don't think it comes back on. I'm guessing these guys come on at 6 a.m. I'll look it up to make sure, but... okay. Now, here comes the complicated roll. Although that one was a pain to find. But I want to show you, how you figure out what's where. You find it on here, you find what it looks like, and then you look at all counters that look kind of like that over the course of the whole map. That's the only way I can think of it. I mean, what the fuck else are you going to do? There's no names on these or anything. Okay. So Napoleon, when he comes on, this is the easy part of the role, must spend at least 4 movement points stacked with Frederick Augustus when he arrives. Now, he can delay this, but his guard can't cross the river into the Altstadt until he negotiates this out. Once he does do this, the Champ du Depart, all active superior formations belong... Oh, and as you're moving towards it, you have to count off each movement point spent so that the players commanding the foes may hear this. Yeah, whatever. I don't know what that matters, unless it's bridging a turn or something, which it may. Okay. I don't know when Napoleon comes on. Let's see. Well, he's in the reinforcement track, probably on the top of a thing. Maybe this is him. There he is. So he'll be coming on at 10 something. Could be 10:20, 10:40. Okay, so what happens when he arrives in Dresden is all superior formations belonging to the foes immediately make a morale check. This is going to be the commander of the division's morale bonus, which might be pretty low. They must roll equal to or below this number. Now, a morale check is an 11 to 66 die, and I would guess most bonuses are probably... Oh, that's a bonus, that's a 1. Let's see where the fuck they are. Morale modifier will be lower right, so he doesn't have one. I don't know if he's a corps leader, though. We had Liechtenstein kicking around somewhere, didn't we? No, this is some other dude. Maybe this is him. Yeah. So he has a 7, so I'd have to roll less than a 7 on an 11 to 66 die, I guess. I'm not sure if a 7's an 11... Or do I have to roll with a D6? Yeah, it doesn't say. And I check for each and every divisional commander. Okay, so a lot of those divisional commanders have like zeros. Commanders, leaders who generate a CP, do not check to see if they become inactive. If they fail to pass this check, that division is inactivated. Well, I guess corps are probably almost all going to create a CP. But somewhere we had... what units created CPs. I wonder where my tweezers are. I need them as a bookmark because I gotta flip through this thing. I think it was in the back of this. Yeah. So we're gonna have to find these specific people and generate CPs for them. Now, as far as I know, the inactive commands don't generate... Well, maybe they do generate CPs. And basically they can't advance or charge or other stuff. Oh, by the way, things get activated, I told you, they get activated if they're moved within range. It doesn't matter if they get shot. They might still just stick around with their thumbs up their ass. You can do some simple stuff, firing artillery, for example. If you reactivate a division that's become inactive, a leader that is capable of generating a CP must begin a command phase stacked with the inactive division leader. And that division leader has to pass a new morale check. The check die roll is modified by the better of the commander's morale modifier. If the leader passes this new morale check, the division is active once again in the subsequent movement phase. Okay, now here we get an example. General von Perch happens to be stacked with General von Kleist when he hears the Chant du Depart. Despite being stacked with his superior commander, he checks his morale and fails. He needed a 2 or less to become... He needed a 2 or less. Okay, let's find General von Pirch. This is how we're going to have to understand this. Pirch is with the 10th Brigade Prussian. Okay, where the fuck is he? Well, maybe this is him. Nope, that's Jack Will. All right. These look like Prussians. This is troops. Some Landwehr. Oh, here's a general. This is von Kleist. Maybe von Pirch is with him. No, this is Tiggelbobble. And here's von Ziethern. Okay, so we didn't find von Pirch, but we know. No, shit. Okay, we gotta get the tweezers and fix this mess. Yeah, we're clumsy with tweezers, aren't we? Okay, maybe this is von Pirch. He's a general, isn't he? There he is. Okay, so he has no morale bonus. He has a 2 and a 1 up on top. Don't know what those are. That's melee modifier and artillery modifier. Okay, so I don't know where they get this 2 from. And I don't know how you roll a 2 and 11 to 66. I'm assuming this is some special roll that's not well explained here. So I don't know. I mean, von Pirch does not have a 2 modifier here. He has a blank. That would be this lower right here. It's a blank. Maybe I don't understand the morale rolls. I'm pretty sure they work on 11 to 66 because the morales are 11 to 66. Yeah, I don't understand. And Kleist gives a -4. Okay, we had Kleist over here. Hey, let's mess up this stack again. Okay, von Kleist gives a -4. That's clear. But I don't see where that 2 is coming from. Let's look again. The morale of the Spear formation is the commander of that division's morale bonus. The player must roll equal to or below this number and check for each and every divisional commander. Yep. Sorry, not seeing it. His morale modifier is dash. They're lying, or I just totally don't understand something, but okay, well, we'll ignore that. But anyway, you get to roll again, and I'm assuming it's on 1 die because that's the only thing that even vaguely makes any sense. But so it's not a morale check, as they state here. Frederick Augustus can't leave his royal palace. Okay, well, we'll start, I guess. I don't know. The first step we have to do, and I do want to kind of capture some of the play, so this is going to take a long time to go through this first turn in terms of video time. It'll take me this long no matter what because I have to learn everything, minus a little bit of the yammering. Command point phase. We have to determine how many command points we have. This is how many units we can activate. To do that, I flip back to here. And now what I have to do is I have to see who's on the board and who's not. So like Napoleon, I know he's not on the board yet, so he's not generating a CP. But now Marat, and now we look him up and try to find him here, and I honestly don't know if he's on the board or not, you know. He's going to be with the Cav, I would guess. But okay, so here's the Cav reserve, and now this is a little far. Okay, so he's on the board, so I ought to get a pair of these to use for him. Now, I'm going to use a pair, because I have no Cav Corps, I'm going to use a pair that, for the 10th Corps, you know. And I figured out the morale table markers, by the way. So the reason there's 2 Young Guard ones is because the Young Guard is divided into 2 commands, essentially. And all the others align with a corps that's in the game. As opposed to these things are just MU markers that look surprisingly like some kind of corps flag and confuse the shit out of me because of it. Okay, so I've done 2 of these. Now I keep looking, And Victor, I'm pretty sure Victor's not on the board. Uh-oh. Yeah, second corps is not on the board. So we don't have to worry about him. Sixth corps is Marmont, not on the board, so I won't get him. Saussure is the 14th corps. He is on the board. I'm going to use the 14th corps. Uh-oh. Markers. Because it'll help me, keep track of what goes where, sort of. Mortier with the old guard. There's the old guard. But I gotta find Mortier himself. There he is, I believe. Is on the map. Of course, anybody who's on the reinforcements is going to be included here. Ruh-roh. What's this? Oh, this is another third corps. We don't want to use third corps because that's too easy to confuse. We don't want to use 9th or 11th. Third corps looks a lot like second, which probably means 7th and 8th look alike. We'll put that there, but we got to double check some of these to make sure that they're actually not reinforcement units yet. And I'll put the counters on the reinforcements to remind me that I'll get command points there. Okay, so that's Mortier. Ney is going to get one, and Ney is already deployed. We'll give him the 15th if I can find it. Wait, here's the 5th. 5th is good. 5th Corps was elite somewhere. Where the fuck is that? I think Prussians or something like that. These Cav divisions with CPs on them are the ... CPs, which indicate that they just get a roll, and they may generate one, but that's why I'm skipping them. So I think I've gotten all the French commands available. That's these 4. Now I find out which ones are on the map. I'll put the ones that aren't on the map over on the proper reinforcement space, just as a reminder. So the French start out with only one command in play. And unless there's something I missed. Is it Dresde have its own or something? Yeah, they have only one command in play that they can operate. Whereas the Allies have all of these. Now, they're not terribly useful because most of the units don't have the right to move right now. By the way, looking at the board, I see I've got these guys inverted. That's to indicate they're in column, but that's not according to the rules. According to the rules, everything's always face up. You don't flip counters. You don't use that extra information available in a hex and counter game, right? Which side the counter's on. You don't use that in this game. I don't know. It's just so much. Let's impose all the penalties of a minis game on a paper, a paper map with chits type of game that we possibly can, minus using the ruler to measure things out. But, and certainly there are factors that you lose when you play on the hex board, period, the end, right? As opposed to measuring things out. But there's also factors that, for ease of play and advantages that the chits give, and flipping the counters over is not one of them, but there are other things. For example, not having to worry terribly much about proportional losses in the way that they're being handled. Now, I understand the argument for why they handle them here the way they do, as opposed to, say, the way a TSS or something does, because they don't degrade naturally. And okay, but it does look like it's going to be very, very painful. Anyway, the next thing that we do is we're going to select which commands, as it were, and we define a mobilized unit or maneuver unit or whatever, and we select it for an activation, for being active. This is going to be done secretly, but here's one I can guarantee you. I've got to get these guys moving because I got to get them off the map. So I'm going to spend one on that. Now, does it matter? This is General Mesky. Someone in his command, I'm sure, had generated a chet way at the top. But that doesn't matter. I just take one of these, and now I have to decide which one is the appropriate one. Okay, they're the same for the Allies. For the French, they have a different appearance, right? One of them is the little flag, one of them is the little chet. Oh, I've already defaced my counters, by the way. I put a little black line under the 11 and 9s just because there's no way to tell them apart. You can tell apart this one because it's the blue, white, red tricolor. But the battle flag, no matter how you rotate it, it's exactly the same as long as it's a reasonable facing for a numeral. So those two were exactly identical if you don't look at the back. Anyway, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this, and there's two ways that you could do this. Either, and the one I'm doing is I'm going to have them simultaneously decide without the other player knowing. What does that mean? Yeah, I know, but... so he's going to throw his chit in there, and he puts that as his activation. The other way is to alternate. I feel like that simultaneous secret placement is more reflective of the kind of surprise element that I like to see in a game. At the very least, I don't know which of your units you've ordered to move. So the pulsing for a given turn, it hides that piece of information from me. And that's appealing to me. Even in a solo game, I want to see that, you know, even if maybe I can't manage it quite as well. But I'm going to be making some of these decisions vaguely randomly. Like if there's a couple of good decisions and I can only command one thing. So I'll just do these at this point. I don't think there's much going on. There's not a hell of a lot for the French to do. I probably want to get these guys off that hill because, and you know, this is the net effect of that first, the opening scenario is that whether or not the French hold that hill. But it's so far out of location that the only reason for it to be there is to distract the Allies as they're moving forward. But I'm gonna want to run it off, but maybe not first thing in the game. So these guys probably need one too. We'll give them a command as well. Yeah, these are the same on both sides. But beyond that, it starts getting hard, in part because most of these things can't move. I think this cav can move. Some stuff over. There's some stuff that can't move until one small command. I can't find. Oh no, maybe in this command, and maybe this is part of that. Part of one of these commands that can't move for a long time can move early, and it's listed under a different command just to make it more difficult for me. But I don't see a whole hell of a lot else that I'm really gonna want to get moving. So like these guys can't move. They can't do a damn thing because there's no leader up there. And that's one of the problem with these guys. These guys can't move, but they do have the right to pull back towards their commander. Now, unfortunately, these guys just don't have a commander. I'm gonna have to find someone to an aide-de-camp or something, because the same guy is used for them as is used up there, and I felt like I needed a commander there. Anything else? I can't think of anything else. All right. Into the inverted counters and what they mean and don't mean. Well, the game argues, at least in the Reg 22, I don't see any real argument one way or another for it here, but I don't know if I looked as hard as I might have. The reason for it is so you can't tell what's on a particular, what a particular unit is. Well, first of all, if you've memorized the game exactly, you have the unit designations here. You can look that up, whatever. You have the information that you could find that if you wanted to. Secondly, and this is the more important, and it's not just because I play solo, I am much more likely to not be able to recognize information about my own counters than I am going to be in danger of understanding what my opponent's throwing at me. As a matter of fact, I think that's pretty common. Even when you're playing opposed, quite often you throw a unit in and you're like, oh shit, that's hosed more than I thought it was, or wow, that was really a piece of shit. I didn't know I had stuff like that in my army. When you're looking at games this big, you're generally not looking at people who are micromanaging their units terribly well. And the most likely thing is actually that the player who controls the units will not be paying as much attention as they could be. Now, the more you make that difficult to do by not representing the information on the counter face, the more you're causing problems for the person who's actually trying to play the pieces. I can't think of too many cases where I've had somebody in a big tactical game pawing through my pieces saying, oh, you've got an A morale unit there, except in the sense of, wow, why is that thing kicking ass? And then, okay, I see. So honestly, I think the rationale behind it is bogus, and the effect is terrible. It makes the game harder to play in so many ways. And the clear answer of flipping units over to show them in column would make sense, except for, well, the fact that the counters aren't really designed to be sitting on this side, which means, by which I mean, not that, oh, they're going to fall over or something. What I mean is, I can't tell what's part of what. Even that uniform distinction isn't really present. Of course, when I look at something like this, how can I tell that these things are all part of the same thing? And they're really kind of not. That's an ad hoc artillery combination there, which I have no fucking clue how I'm going to actually use, nor whether I have an actual line of sight, but I think I do, because I'm up on a rise here, and this is just a gully, I guess. My program chits are down. It took me a while because I had to figure out, hey, do I need a chit to fire my artillery? I think I do. But then even harder was this dude here, Jackwell. I had to look through the reinforcements books to find him again and again. Can he command anything? Now, this is going to get even harder because I'm going to have to constantly be referring to this maybe or the back of the book for the command structure. And the reason for that is because the pieces don't reflect it very nicely. I can't tell what this is. I know who that is. But if I look at this, is this under him? I don't know. It says RW on it. It's Colorado. What's RW Colorado? Well, I have to look here to try to understand it. And Colorado is... Well, I do not see him in the Army of Bohemia, which means he's over here. This is the left wing. He's over here in the right wing. So he's under Schwarzberg. But there's this blue guy here who's under that. And there's this red guy. And it's just not absolutely obvious who's under what structure. And that's looking at the supreme commander of the Army of Bohemia. If I'm looking at, Giuliani, and I see a left wing on something, it could be from either of these structures. And I don't think Giuliani can take command of Clenau's units. They're not in the same organizational structure. I think that's what that seems to show. So now I look here, and I look under Schwarzburg. So I've got a separate wing. This is not just the left wing. This is the left reserve wing, which isn't specified here. These are both left wings, so maybe Giuliani was in charge. Okay, well, these are lettered the same. They're both left wing. So there's nothing on the counters that's going to help me. Even if I see that those are, units that are Austrian. And if I start using aide-de-camps, man, it totally becomes unclear who's in what command structure. Because I can't tell that this dude is not, I'm not sure what. I mean, the Russians seem to have a certain coloring to their pieces, but wait a minute. I'm not even sure who these guys are. These guys are like the super staff here. But if I look at Hesse-Homburg, he's not clearly under Schwarzburg, but then the aide-de-camp for Hesse-Homburg looks like he is. Right? So the next step we have is the light cav initiative phase. Ooh. I've already thrown some of the chits in the cup. That's okay. So in order to do this, well, I have to hunt down each of the light cav. So I don't know who to start with, but I'll search through here. Okay, 3rd Light Cavalry Division under Latour Maubourg. Let's see if we can find anything there. This is kind of a pain. Okay, that looks like it's this. Oh, is it on the board? That's the first question. What cav do I have on the board? And, oops, that wasn't too important, but... All right, so I gotta find the French. Make sure I'm in the right scenario. This is actually pretty clever. They have these, each scenario has some color-coded thing. I know I harsh on a lot about this game, but that was kind of a nice move. Now, these are the reinforcements. I'm looking for the 3rd Light Cav under the Cav Reserve. Where the fuck's the Cav Reserve is the question. I don't think that's in yet. I have the 10th Light Cav under Pajol. I think that's the only Cav division I have in play. So that's probably the only unit that the French might have here. So, what did I say, 10th? Alright, I don't see it. I do not see Pajol here. Okay. So now let's go back to trying to figure out where he came from. So he is he looks like he's under the 14th Corps. Let's make sure that's correct. Jesus, I can't read these. Alright, I do not see him there. But he's listed kind of under the 14th Corps. Alright, we're gonna step away and see if I can find this fucker, because it looks like it's going to take 5-10 minutes. Interestingly, it's the 10th Light Cavalry Division here. It's not mentioned there. It's the 14th Corps Cavalry here. So he should be on the map. Now, oh yeah, but he may not exist on here. Crappies. Yes, he's here. Now, are there any other corps on the map? Is 6th Corps on the map? It isn't. 2nd Corps is not. 6th Corps is not. 14th is on the map. The Old Guard is not on the map yet. And I guess the Reserve Cavalry is not. So, Pajol is over here. Now, I believe what we use for him is his morale modifier, which I think is over on the right there as a 4. But we're going to have to look that rule up because, we're not familiar, right? We read the rules, but they sure the fuck didn't stick. And I might as well check for all of them. It says Cav Melee bonus, okay? So now we flip through to here to find out where Cav Melee bonus is. And again, this all becomes... Cav Melee is actually the lower right number, I believe, which we didn't memorize. Oh, no, we did. That's the 4. I don't know where I have him. It doesn't really matter. Just so he stays with his unit. So that's the 4, right? Now that's morale. Cav Melee modifier. Lower left, I think. I can't tell. I'm going to need to bring the counter over here. Now I'll lose where I put him. It's a 5. Okay. So it's a 5. Well, what did I do with it again? Okay. Player declares he is checking. If he has a melee bonus of 3. Is it melee? I thought it was something else. Cav Melee. Melee modifier. See, that's the thing. It's melee bonus here. And you start doing things like that where the words change and my little alarms go off and I say, I got the wrong thing. Look, 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 Herc, look, look, look. Can't find my bow. Okay. It may never exceed 5 or be less than 1. A single die is rolled, and he passes the check if it's less than or equal to his initiative. Okay. It is less than or equal to. So we're going to give him the 15th corps. And put that here. And we'll do that for all the Austrian, or all the Allied Cav. There are quite a few of them, but only the active ones, the activated ones would be checked for. I'll be back. Down all the Allied cavalry. The only one that I found which was eligible, I already had a maneuver unit soaked around it. So for example, this one is would be eligible, or no, this one would be eligible, except I think he's got a 7:40 start time. It's hard to tell. The others are either not yet reinforcements, and they may never be reinforcements simply because I may not have found them. You know, they may not. So like the Royal Prussian Reserve Cav isn't on the board yet. That seems fairly likely. There's a fair amount of Prussians not on the board, but there was something else that I found that seemed kind of unlikely it wouldn't be on the board, but it's, here we go. So Milisinov here with the right-wing army of the reserve, he doesn't apparently show up today, and that seems a little odd. I don't know for sure if that's correct, but anyway. It's not making it in my battle today. It may never make it. What I've done is on each one that I found that I rolled for, or otherwise, I found one that I didn't roll for, and one that I can't roll for as well, because his time's not there yet. But I started putting in parentheses the number that they need to activate right on the chart using my Sharpie. Because this is glossy paper, I can't just write in pencil, so if I fuck something up, well, we're going to have scribble outs and shit like that on it. Yeah. I don't like glossy paper. Everything's glossy in this except the really nice stock, which also I would feel horrible writing on, but anyway. By the way, some people have mentioned, oh yeah, you know, the ME rules are good, which are apparently the Marshall's Enterprise rules are much better than anything Clash of Arms does. The problem there is, Ed Wimble himself has told me, was saying this when I was sitting next to him. Somebody had asked him, hey, can I use your rules with some of the Marshall games? Can I use the Marshall rules with some of your games? Something like that. He said, no, they don't work together. They're different scales. They're not designed, you know, they're basically different systems. I think most of the Clash of Arms systems, maybe all of them, actually do integrate. So you can go back and forth and find the rule set you want. With This game, though, you can't really dig in and try to pull the rules that you want, for the simple fact that in the basic system rules are specific elements of Dresden. Somebody had mentioned, well, yeah, use the Marshall Enterprise rules, which, again, I've been told, no, don't do this by one of the designers. And, you know, just use the exclusive rules for this game. That doesn't work, because not all of the exclusive rules for this game are in the exclusive rules. Some of them are baked into the base game rules. Which is just a horrible idea. And apparently this seems to be the first time that's happened. Okay, we've got the action chits in the cup, including the 4 special ones, and we shake this up. And now we're ready to actually start. It's taken me a week to set up and, you know, go through the rules with you, which isn't that bad. That's what it takes for a lot of my bigger monsters. You know, when I do something like La Grande Guerre, or I do Europa Universalis, or A World at War, or something like, or Whiff, it does take me a long time to explain the rules because there's so much to them, and it takes a long time to set up. This, though, is the first time I felt this kind of burden on a tactical game. And, you know, if you're familiar with my videos, I do some pretty big tactical games. It's just, you know, the rules are usually much, much simpler, and the setup is simpler. This took me a couple days to set up because I have to align the units using, you know, the images rather than designation for the most part. Designation helped, but it wasn't, you know, it's not portrayed on the counters in a very useful way. So we draw the first counter, and it is Maneuver Unit 2. Now, if this was the Regs 22, and I think any of the Regs, even Regs 30, but I'm not positive, what this would mean is I'd find unit number 2, wherever it is, it's over here, and I'd activate it. But that ain't what happens in this one. Instead, all the allied units activate. It's like an I Go, You Go game, except there's 4 special counters that you don't know quite when they're going to happen, and you don't know whether the French or the allies are going to go first. I don't know if I like that or not. I don't know if it makes a damn bit of difference to me, because I'm not really that tied to chit pull that, you know, I know some people will probably hate that. It's not a big deal if you do hate it. You have all the counters here to support the other form of play. And if you have one of the old regs, you can do it that way. Or you can just extrapolate and say, well, it's obvious what should happen. I think this got changed in Mary Louise. Okay. Now we look at what we're doing. Charge a Chevelle. Well, we're not doing any calf charges, so I don't have to worry about any of this. So we go down to timed maneuver phase. And I have... Oh, wait. We might be. I forgot. I'm not just handling this unit. That's one advantage to the chip pull, is that I can focus my attention on just one unit. And I may go to a straight chit pull system simply because I don't know if I really want to run all of these units in one lump. I think I'd prefer running a chit at a time, just for my lifestyle, you know, so that I'm not spending 3 hours, you know, trying to activate one thing. But that's okay. For now, I can remove the maneuver unit counters or do something with them to indicate that I've moved that unit, rather than anything else. So there's not a whole hell of a lot that I have to do, but I've got a couple of units to bring on. And what else? These guys maybe want to push forward a little bit. This artillery can fire. And that, these guys up here, those are 640. These guys are 6 a.m. though, and I could start moving them forward a little bit. So I'll start moving some pieces, and then we'll see the basics of movement, which is nothing really that exciting, to tell you the truth. You've seen it before, so maybe I won't even show it. I'll just babble instead, right? Use up the video on babbling. That would be me. I don't think we're going to see anything of too much interest this turn, though, period. You know, there's just... this is setting up for the battle more than actually fighting it. And the Allies have all these delays, they're not going to be able to launch a major attack at this point. I screw up. These guys actually don't use a maneuver order or a maneuver unit. I'm going to throw these over at these cav and move them. The reason is they enter with the reinforcement shit. And oops. Okay. A little bit of movement's taking place. Move these guys forward. Cav, just in column, not road column or anything like that. Somewhere else. Oh yeah, I moved the leaders forward here so they can command this whole force. I got a whole stack of leaders there and another big old stack. Chances are I have the leaders I need to do whatever I need. It's just a matter of I have to wait until things are extracted. Now these guys are going to fire, and we'll talk about that in a bit because we got some problems there. Let's see. Okay. At this point I realized something I did fucking wrong. Yes. I have no idea where these get set up. They were not in the setup instructions. I'm going to have to spend some time looking through here to see what the hell was up with them and why they're not on the board. That's one problem. And the other problem is I wanted to look up fire combat for here. I know there might be a grand battery here. Maybe that takes a chit to be there, but I don't know. I've got a leader. He doesn't seem to be marked with anything that says he's special, from what I can tell. If I look at, maybe I'm wrong. Let's look. If I look here at a leader, he's got an infantry modifier, an artillery modifier. That may make him special, and a morale modifier. On the other hand, maybe special is listed somewhere else. I don't know for sure. So, that's part of the cost of learning a system is I got those rules lookups. All right, fine, whatever. It's painful. Not something I want to do, but it's how you have to learn. So, unfortunately, there's no index. Luckily for me, though, something I really need when I'm playing a game to be right in the rule book instead of like on a loose sheet of paper is some advertisement material. How fucking wonderful. And then a blank page. There's a lot of room for an index in there. Guess that was too much work. My quest, which was to discover what these, where I set these up, that failed. I cannot find any rules for them. Now I'm going to make it up and just throw them wherever the hell I want. But, they have to be near their units. So I put them a little behind where they can support them, which seems reasonable. But I can find no references to them in the game-specific rules. And I don't think there was anything about setup in the main rules. I sure fucking hope not. But this is just kind of ridiculous. I mean, this whole thing is obviously... You know what they have? They have a captive audience of people who love these maps, who play this system and are used to it. Maybe many of them haven't tried out a system since the late 70s, a newly created system. And, there are certain advantages to this. I don't think they stand up versus, what this is targeted at, which is minis players, really. People who wish they were playing minis. But that's really the problem. And, the thing that attracts me to it is not just the beautiful maps, which is a big part of it, but they've got their problems. No numbers, the difficult writing to read and such not. But, and the same with the counters. They're beautiful, but they got their problems, which are more significant than the map. But the real thing that attracts me to this system is how many battles it handles and how many of the big important ones. Nobody else does Dresde in a tactical system that I am aware of, except for, the Napoleon's Art of War, which is such a low the level of abstraction is so high on it that anyway. So I guess I try to figure out where these go by my own, left to my own devices. And then, of course, I do have the problem of this one, which, I'm just going to put it with the others like it and say, screw these number setups because they're just wrong. either the counters or this is correct. I can choose either one, and I'm going to choose that the counters are correct because that's easier to cope with.